It's natural to be deluded at times. We use our mind, brain here and there. For example, right now in the morning, I see the ocean and the breeze on the tree branches, the leaves, and I feel beautiful. Why do I feel beautiful? Because of the past memories of the time that I had. And something's telling me that this is a peaceful morning. And do you call it the delusion? Maybe not. But let's think about the other case. One example I used before about my Vipassana experience is that when I was eating lunch and after eating lunch, I saw the grasshopper popping up, and then all of a sudden I noticed my breathing changed. And the reason for that is that the grasshopper is the insect that I use to catch trout in Yellowstone specifically. And it's a fly imitation, and I remember catching a trout, and it was a big trout and a wonderful moment. So the mind started to drift into that space. So this is a case of the morning sun and the grasshopper, but it can lead to many other things too. When you see someone and he resembled someone else who I had a very bad experience, or it could be a very good experience, accordingly, that image may pick up the emotion. So the question about this is that if this is biologically built in our system, how quickly we can deal with it so that we don't waste an extra energy in the delusional thought. When you're meditating, as an example, another example, you start to think of something and you may find yourself caught up in doing it for the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even more. In some cases, if you're sitting 1 hour or 30 minutes, whatever the case is, you may spend the whole time, into this wonderful or crazy thought. Wonderful in the sense of meeting some wonderful woman in some cases, and one memory triggers another one, and then you get to another place, and it's called the monkey mind. And it could be many other situations, as you can imagine. So the point of this is that if this is somewhat built in us, because we need to relate to the event that we see in front of us and try to make a judgment. Is it meaningful or something I need to pay attention to or move on? Of course, if you can contain this calm and quiet mind, the judgment may come much more quickly. But if we are not well equipped and the calm mind, quiet mind is not there, mind is just trying to grab something one to the next. Maybe it's something to do with the hormone situation or the temperature or breathing. And if you study this, Sapolsky I mentioned, he's a professor of Stanford at the human psychology or human biology. He knows lots of examples indicating that, for example, if you're sitting in the hard chair, you tend to be very harsh in making a decision as a judge or whatever, in the legal system. So there's a statistical evidence of many of those examples that depending upon what environment we are in, and also depending upon what experience, the memories that we have, we may react to certain things. So the name of the game is to be awakened from that. If we struggle to get rid of it, I mentioned in the other video about my awakening, the try to get rid of it itself created more emotional response. So you get caught up more and more. The example I mentioned in the video about my awakening experience is that when I tried to get out of the pain in my back, I couldn't. And more you tried, you get harder. So it's the saying in Japanese, the rope gets tighter and tighter as you try to escape from the pain. So the point of the meditation, point of this talk, point of our figuring out of delusion, suffering, is often to do with realizing what's going on at the real moment. So this point is to give you some reference ideas that the past experience is built in. Whatever pops up, the mind moves to check if that makes sense to you, if it is good for your life or not. And accordingly, there's some process that moves inside us. And our point that we need to be careful is not to complain that process is bad, because it is something meaningful, to give you a caution of what can happen. If certain things happens, then certain other things may trigger that you should take this action or not. So the question is the making judgment at the point. Meaningful or not, let go or not. If it's important, we need to address it. If it's not important, we let go. If the stone is falling us and our mind moves, you don't just sit and meditate. You respond to that, to the need. If something else happens which is totally unnecessary for you to think further because of your judgment, the best thing is to get out of it. And for that judgment, to go this way or that way is the critical point. And earlier you grab yourself doing it, the better it is. Example of the grasshopper was that I noticed the breathing change because of my meditation practice of anapana, focused on breathing, makes me to have another sort of like a biofeedback, another reference point that triggers me to think, wait a minute, is this something that I need to get into it? And as soon as I can catch, as early as I can catch the moment, and practice yourself so that you develop the skill to work on it, to see if this is good or bad, by having a calm and quiet mind to observe what is really is happening then. Then you can make a right judgment to get out of it. So the very point of this is that when we want to be enlightened or awakened, whatever the word that we use, or you want to have a peace and quiet life, or a long living wonderful life with all the stuff that you can achieve, that's sort of okay, but you need to check carefully if it is meaningful for you, that achieve what you want in life by living truthfully and sincerely, as I talk about. So have that ideal is good. To seek for enlightenment, awakening, is good, or I should say not bad. But if you are so driven, then it becomes a delusion by itself, because your mind is driving you to be something you are not, and you may be making the wrong judgment. So the question of how, why, all that need to be well understood when we practice meditation, when we face the situation. So it's basically a skill to notice what's important or not, make the good judgment. Again, thought pops up, emotion pops up. You can live in a very calm and quiet space. Many monks may do that. Of course, that's inducive for you to be, peaceful and quiet. But if we are, as in many cases, that most of the people are not living alone, so that the situation is quite different. Lots of stimuli. If you spend so much time reading the news and all the bad things happening in the world and all the changes taking place, and all the emotion will drive up you crazy. That's the reality. And that's when people want to go meditate and go retreat and all that. So you may gain something, but as soon as you go back to the daily life, I don't call it the normal state. I want to call it as a state that you are in that we want to change by making judgment, so that you can deal with the situation better and not to deal with the situation or the information that's unnecessary. So focus what we can so that we can be truthful and sincere in what our life is about and make the judgment accordingly. And for that, we need to process all the information coming in. And how you do that, that's almost like, to me, a samurai warrior. The samurai warrior has to deal with the situation, and the situation may pop up from any direction. Our life is like that. It may sound weird to say something like that or listen to something like this, probably. But that's what it is. We are playing a dangerous game if we don't know how to deal with it. Or we damage ourselves. Our life get, very miserable. So how to deal with it, how to create your own space so that you can cultivate this skill better and be able to deal with the situation in life. That's what we need to do. I think that's what we may aim to do, to feel happy in what we do and helping the society by making the right judgment, using a calm and quiet mind, developing skills to notice what's going on. It takes years of experience to go through it. There may be a moment of awakening, a big life-shattering, earth-shattering experience that you may feel like you have accomplished something, awakened or something like that. And I have such experiences. But the bottom line of it is that it's just a momentary thing, and the life goes on from moment to moment. And like a samurai warrior, all of a sudden you see yourself trapped or attacked or thrown into some unknown situation because we don't have the perfect information. But we want to be preparing ourselves to deal with whatever comes to us from outside by cultivating the skills inside and knowing what's going on inside and process that in the right manner, making right judgment, calmly, quietly, knowing what's going on externally, internally, and develop the skill. I know we can do it. It's just one of those skills that we have to develop. And more you develop, you can see things better. And I hope we all be happy in whatever we do to live on this earth the best we can. May all beings be happy. Thank you.